This is a hard question. It's the right question to be asking. I happened to just read an article over the weekend that said that if the amount of information you and I process in a day were presented to someone who lived in the 1500s,
Welcome back, everyone, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. And we have a tremendous guest for you guys today. Actually, this guest was our first guest on this podcast, episode number 14. Matthew Ferrara joins us again. For those of you who don't know who he is, we've known Matthew, way back. We met first when I was working at Turpin Realtors up in New Jersey a long time ago. You've been connected with Garrett for a long time, but Matthew is an incredible industry leader in real estate. He's a philosopher. He is also the Dean of Innovation at Leading Real Estate Companies of the World, which is the largest network of private brokerages in the world, which is really amazing. So Matthew, welcome back, man. So good to see you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me back. Always fun to hang out with you guys. And I'm excited for our conversation.
Oh, me too. I should also highlight too, if you guys want to read some great content and be pumped up about what's going on in the real estate industry, go to alwaysinspiring.com, which is Matthew's newsletter, his Substack. You can subscribe on there, get some great stuff. If you want to get away from kind of that, oh, everything's terrible in the industry, and actually read the real stuff that's going on and be inspired, that's the place to go.
Well, I'm happy with what led us here today, because Matthew, I watched what, you always have got great stuff going out social media wise and places like that. And it's always that stuff that I'm like, yes, that's what we need to be talking about right now. This is the direction, what we need to, this is what we're saying a lot in our world. And then we jumped on the phone together and we were kicking back all these thoughts and throwing around what we're seeing in the industry. And I'm like, do you want to come back on the podcast? And I want to say, I'm grateful for how fast you were like, yeah, let's do this. So we're excited to be sharing some time with you today, sir.
Yeah, it was actually a great call. And the fun part about what I get to do is I get a lot of opportunities to be able to just jump in and keep spreading some good news and some inspiring ideas. So thank you for inviting me back. And also, to be fair here, I just want to give some kudos where they belong. The work you guys have been doing since episode 14, when I was joining, I have been keeping an eye. I'm a member of the community. I get every day's content, and I lurk sometimes in the backgrounds of your session. So super congratulations to all of you. You two and your team are doing fabulous work. And to be honest, it's exactly what we need at a time like this in our business. So I'm always excited to contribute to it.
I appreciate after a year, you're still saying that. You said it up front when we first started. You said, I can see where you're going and we need this. And a year later to have you go, you're on the right track still. That means a lot, man.
Well, I was just going to say, truth be told, the conditions today are very similar to when you guys started, but I would say in some aspects, even a little more intense. And some of the people that we might have thought would have been part of the solution either haven't been or maybe have retired to Tahiti for all I know. So I'm a little selfish here in the case of I need you two to keep doing what you're doing, please, because I certainly can't carry it all on my shoulders. And hopefully together, we can help make a positive impact on this business.
And what led us to today is, we were talking about what we're seeing in the industry, what we're seeing happen. You have a huge leadership side of looking at it from that standpoint of how is the leadership supporting the agents that are out here. I'm watching the agents that are, some of them rising to the top. Some of them are trying to figure out where do we even start in this marketplace? And I keep reminding people that these are the markets where you create raving fans. These are the markets where the real, true professionals rise to the top. And I would love just to kick this off by just kind of opening it up to you. What from a high level are you seeing with the marketplace and with the industry currently right now and where we stand?
Well, I guess I would answer that in two ways. And there are two sides of the same coin. I'll start with the easy one, but it's typically the more controversial one when I start with it. People like to talk about the market, but I'm formally trained in philosophy and in economics, so I got 2 degrees. And when we think about the market in real estate, it's kind of the wrong term. There isn't a market in real estate. There are millions of markets in real estate. And so one of the areas that is of concern to me is the fact that for shorthand purposes, we say the market, and journalists and economists and researchers and pundits and everybody talks about the market. But it's very, very hard to, as a listener and as a practitioner, to understand that what's being talked about may not actually be what's going on in my market. And so I guess that's kind of like the most important external factor that concerns me these days, is that you see headlines that say the market is doing this, the market prices are declining, inventory is rising. Well, in some markets, that's the case. In other markets, prices are rising, inventory is still lower than it's been pre-pandemic periods, days on market are short, 40% of properties are still being sold with more than one offer and all cash. Like I can point out any market you want, and then I could go to other markets and see challenges in them. And I say all of this by way of sort of leading into the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the most valuable asset we have right now in the market, or our market, is really our mindset, is really how we're thinking about what we're seeing and interpreting the signals that are out there. And if the signals as a practitioner that I get, or even that my clients get through the news and the internet and TikTok and wherever else they're getting it from, if those signals aren't clear, they're just these homogenous indicators that really don't pertain to what's going on around them, people will not only get confused, but they'll have difficulty differentiating when you provide them with data that says something different. So if, Forbes or the Wall Street Journal or, one of the large industry news outlets says, prices are declining, well, they are declining in 35% of the markets, but in 65% of the markets, they are stable or rising. So if I'm a local practitioner, and I'm sitting down talking with some buyers who say, well, gosh, I heard that prices are declining. I want to wait for them to fall. And then as the practitioner, I'm trying to show local market information that perhaps is a different story or an opposite story to that. It's very hard to communicate to the public and create momentum. Related to that, it's very hard in your own mind to realize that markets just simply exist. They are what they are. And here's what I know. In any market, there's going to be someone who will have their best year ever this year, right? There's going to be someone who will sell as many homes as they want, help as many buyers as they want, sell as many mortgages as they want, recruit as many agents as they want. Someone will have a banner year and others won't. But that is the exact same phenomenon that happened last year, the year before, and every year since we've been keeping records about the market. So it's kind of a complex situation right now. There are a lot of signals. We have to be cautious about the signals we're receiving and what we're paying attention to so that it doesn't undermine our thinking. And at the same time, we have to be able to become a great interpreter of that in a way that can effectively help our clients and even our colleagues not get distracted, not get dissuaded from taking action. So, all of that, it sounds like a complicated ball of wax here, if you will, and it is sophisticated, but it's nothing that we actually, aren't good at doing in this business. We're always good at pulling apart complex circumstances and helping people turn those cautions into calculated risks. But we've got to understand that I just think it is a little more intense, the signals we're hearing these days, and they could very easily throw us off our game.
Yeah, I think particularly you mentioned the mindset, the signals that come in and impact the mindset, and how that also evolves into emotion. Because I love that you hit on all the different markets, because then you can even break it down and even further and say, well, in this market, you list this house and it's going to act completely different than the next door neighbor's house, because this is not a commoditized industry. We try to make it that way when we run numbers and data and everything, but there's different reasons behind why people buy and sell. And then there's different features and benefits and all the things that come with certain houses that then have to match with those buyers and sellers. Now you add in an emotional real estate agent into it, because it's a tough business, and sometimes we're trying to make it work. Sometimes we're having a great year and we're really excited. But what do you see that works with not just leadership, but also agents, and being able to manage the stability of their emotion when it comes in? Because these signals come in, and like you said, the clients say, hey, I heard this, I heard that. And we have to counter or have a conversation with, here's the data that I have for you, but still managing the emotions, because the emotions still come out, whether it's positive or negative. And I see that the agents that keep that even playing field are the ones that are going to come out at the end of the year and be like, I had the best year ever. Now, I don't really know what the difference maker was for me. I have my systems, but it usually comes down to that mindset and emotions. So how do we manage that?
Well, I think just becoming aware of our emotions. I will tell you that in the last 5 years, I have not done as much work in the previous 20 years on emotional intelligence as I have in the past 5 years, both for individual agents, teams, company leaders, office managers. And when I talk about emotional intelligence, this isn't about controlling your emotions, but simply increasing my awareness of my emotions and awareness of what's triggering me, what's concerning me, what's warning me, so that I can effectively leverage my emotions for my own goals and aims. So the interesting thing about emotional intelligence is we're not trying to suppress emotions. We don't even categorize emotions into good or bad emotions. We simply say, I'm having these emotions. They're strong. They're being provoked by a headline, by a customer who is asking a question or objecting to something, and they're just trying to learn more, but they trigger emotions in us. I'm having a negotiation with another agent, and it's making me feel anxious or concerned or, whatever those emotions are. If we're not first aware of them and then learn to take steps to direct them in a constructive manner, then it'll be very hard to navigate and be successful in this market. Now, let me connect the dots for you if I can here. The reason is this, and this is kind of one of the core little metaphors of emotional intelligence. This is what I call a swimmer's market, not a surfer's market. So with all due respect, in any market, there are some people who have bold goals and they're going to work hard no matter what. And then there are others who are going to ebb and flow with the tide, meaning if the market's up, they're up. If the market's down, they're down. Those are surfers. And that's okay. Some people just surf the market. It could be a part-time job for them. It could be, just something they're experimenting with or learning the ropes. I'm not really calling that out, but what I am saying is that in this market, there aren't any waves. That's the problem. It's a very flat market in so many indicators: inventory, price, pace of sales, etc. So you've got to swim, whether you want to do 2 deals or 200 deals this year, you've got to swim. Now, where does that connect back to emotional intelligence? Well, if I'm receiving information or I'm experiencing things every day and I'm feeling disillusioned, I'm feeling afraid, I'm feeling uncertain, I'm feeling hesitant, well, my willingness to jump into a cold, flat sea and swim hard for the shores is going to be low. And so this is where, when I'm talking to leaders today, when I'm talking to agents, not only trying to motivate themselves, but motivate clients, I say to them, let's focus on the emotional state of ourselves, our colleagues, and our clients, as much as, or perhaps a little bit more than, the informational state right now, because they're not having a problem getting access to information. They're having a problem interpreting it in a constructive light. This week's newsletter, I basically point out the fact that if you train your mind to see challenges as opportunities, then even when you hear information that might be negative, you might ask yourself, I wonder what the opportunity is. And the example I used is, prices are falling. Well, why in some markets are prices falling? In some markets, they're falling because builders have outpaced job creation. So they have a little more inventory right now. So what are they doing? They're lowering the price to attract some buyers. Now, some people say, oh my goodness, prices are falling. On the other hand, I say, oh my goodness, I've got some buyers who can finally buy again. It's positively impacting affordability. But that's as much of an intellectual shift as an emotional shift, which is to say, I'm not going to let this demotivate me. I'm going to let this provoke my curiosity and then figure out how to turn this into something good.
So Matthew, I love where you're going between the swimmers and the surfers right now, because we've come out of marketplaces where it's like, well, the interest rates are low, everybody's trying to buy. That would be a wave. There's other waves of whether it's inventory or whatever it might be. We've had these massive waves that just drives a massive amount of people into the marketplace where the surfers can thrive.
Right.
I keep saying to people, like, this marketplace right now is really interesting because interest rates aren't fluctuating. They're kind of just, everything's just kind of hanging flat right now. Inventory is, in a lot of places I've talked to recently, they're like, we're not really growing in inventory right now. We're just kind of hanging flat right now. And that I would say drive of like, we're missing out on something. We got to get it soon. We're going to miss it. If we don't, we might get that interest rate. We might not. Like, all that stuff creates this marketplace where you really have to focus on what are your clients trying to achieve and guide them there, because it's not this outside influence of how fast can we make a decision to get it, how fast can we make a decision so we don't lose a house. It's really about figuring out where they need to go. And I see this marketplace as actually one of the healthier maybe marketplaces we've been in a long, long time. But it's funny, nobody's looking at it that way. They're not. They think the healthy side of it is when it's like crazy and it's like what we were back in 2020. They go, that's health. I'm like, that was super unhealthy. That was not something we could sustain.
Well, let's be clear about this, right? We do have a little bit of psychosis in this business. Let me tell you why. When we had no inventory, we were running around for 10 years screaming that we wanted inventory. Please send us inventory. Now inventory has risen 10, 15, 30, 40% in some markets, and we're running around screaming, oh no, we have too much inventory. Like, there's a little bit of strange psychosis going on in this business. We don't like it when we are doing well. We don't like it when we're not doing well. The reason I bring this up, it's humorous, but I bring this up by saying, again, it's a question of interpreting. You're pointing out, Garrett, that a lot of people are waiting right now. There's a sense of what's going to happen next. Now, this is happening in our society in general, our economy broadly, but it's also specifically happening in real estate because for some reason, we only equate market momentum with one or two switches in this business, which is, did the Federal Reserve step on the gas by lowering interest rates, or did some other external factor positively or negatively impact inventory? Except that these interest rates on a 30-year run rate are absolutely normal. There's nothing wrong with 5 to 7% interest rates. In fact, I would say that these interest rates are a gift to price. Now, let me just explain that to you. One of the problems that I'm worried about right now is that we are artificially chasing prices down. Now, what do I mean by that? So let me back up 2 steps to go 2 steps forward. Number 1, with interest rates stable, one of the ways I can move inventory is to simply invite buyers to make a full-priced offer on my property, and I, as the seller, will buy down their mortgage interest rate, which will cost me less than a price reduction, right? So if my house has been on the market for 4 weeks and I haven't gotten the offers yet, what I can do is simply instruct my agent to tell anyone who's seen the property that we are willing to put X dollars out in a buy down offer on their 1-year, 2-year, or a 3-year interest rate. And, you don't even have to do a permanent one. Just you do a 3-2-1 or a 2-1 adjustable, and basically I can maybe spend, I'm just going to make it up, I could spend a few points, maybe I could spend $20,000 buying down some interest rates rather than dropping the price of my property $50,000 or even $100,000. And here's the cool part. Buyers get accessibility and affordability, hoping that maybe overall interest rates will refinance in 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. Secondly, they get to buy a house at a higher price point, which is is in their interest. They do not want a mortgage on a price point that is falling. They do not want a mortgage on a lower price property. They want to pay full price so that they can also eventually resell it from an upswing on that. And the market gets stability. So like here we are thinking, oh, interest rates are stuck. They're not stuck. They're actually doing us a favor. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because of the second part of what I said, which is, are we accidentally causing one of these problems like price declines by chasing it down ourselves? Now, again, I'm going to say something that's probably a little less of a problem with your audience, but just in general. There are some real estate professionals out there, one or two or 100,000 or more, who have never worked in a 60-day market. They've never worked in a 90-day market. They've never worked in a 120-day market. And so when they list a property and it goes 4 full weeks without multiple overpriced escalating offers like it's magic, they freak out. And I'm not picking on them. I'm simply saying we never train them what to do, because for years they could sell that house in 30, 40 days or 3 hours back in 2020, 2021. And secondly, because they don't have those skills, they can only think of one or two things to do. And both of them are wrong. And you can confirm this by going on Facebook right now. And you'll see the number one and number two thing agents are asking about are either, how do I do a price reduction since I have no offers within 3 weeks or 4 weeks, as opposed to how do I counsel my seller to patience? So their first choice is, how do I do a price reduction? And their second choice is, does anyone know how to bury that statue of St. Joseph upside down in the front yard or something? And I say, listen, there's at least 10 things we can do before we need divine intervention, of course, and certainly before we need to lower the price. And so this takes me again right back into the wrapper of, we're getting signals on the market. We've got to control our emotions. We've got to say it is not a crisis that it's going to take 55, 60 days for this house to sell. It is not a crisis that requires us to immediately lower the price as if something is wrong. Markets take time to send signals to buyers and to interpret signals from competing properties that are out there. And that takes time to adjust. And it could take 30 days to adjust. It could take 45 days to adjust. And the adjustment doesn't mean a price change. It could mean a change in terms, conditions, positioning, etc. So you see where I'm going here, right? It seems like multiple things are going on, but no, we don't need to necessarily chase prices down too quickly. And no, we don't need to, ask for divine intervention. But no, we also don't have to interpret a slow market as a bad thing. If you think that it's a bad thing to take 60 days to sell a complex commodity, go sell computer systems, go sell yachts, go sell airplanes, go sell lots of things that take more than 2 hours to complete the transaction.
So Matthew, and what you're saying though, I think the important part is the education piece that has to be being done for the consumer to understand what are the expectations of selling a house right now. Because what's happening is they are putting their home on the market. They only have a month to get to wherever they want to go. They haven't built in any time. And as you said, are we the ones that are chasing the prices down? And I think there's a combination of it. One is there's the nervousness of the realtor, but there's also the time frame that was not built in enough for the seller, where they're going, we got to go like tomorrow. I've already bought a house down here. We got to get this one sold. What are our only options? And yeah, they are throwing lower prices on it. They are getting offers on it, and they are moving along. So it's that fine line of setting themselves up, right up front to say, here's all the negotiation pieces we have to get you positioned right in this marketplace, and the expectation of how long it may take.
This is a great area of growth opportunity. This is where people are going to capture market share. So I'm going to just say, whether you are an owner of a company or a manager who is trying to decide what to focus on for skill development for your agents, and yes, having difficult conversations, communicating great market conditions, et cetera, that's one area. But whether you're a manager looking for the right thing, or whether you're an agent who is trying to say, what's the one thing I could do that would make a dramatic difference? What I would suggest right now is something that we used to teach. See, I've been around for 33 years in this business, so I get to be the old man in the business now. But what we used to teach was a concept called listing inventory management. And what I mean by that is it actually started weeks and months before anybody brought their property onto the marketplace. We were saying to sellers, here's what to expect. We weren't telling them what was going on in the marketplace. We were telling them how to set their expectations so that they had a little runway. They had 3, 6, 9 months runway to say, oh, it is going to actually take 75 days to sell a home. That's not a crisis, but we've got to start earlier. This is not like just buying something on Amazon.com or selling something on eBay. So we do listing inventory management before they list, and then here's the skill, and this skill has not been well taught over the past decade, which is when you list the property, you actually say to Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you say, listen, here's how we list the property. We're going to establish the starter criteria right now, and every single Monday that we are on the market, I will call you at 10 a.m. or 5 p.m. or whatever that number is, and we're going to go through 5 or 6 critical factors. How many showings have you had? How many new listings are competing with you? How many offers have we had? What's the absorption rate in the marketplace? What's the current days on market? What are the trends on list to sold ratios? These are the 5, 6, 7 criteria we're going to look at every single Monday, and then we're going to ask ourselves, does anything need to change? Do our price terms or conditions need to change? Or do we simply need to take a deep breath? And we're going to manage this listing. We're not going to react to our emotions. So in a sense, this skill, it's an old school kind of skill where you tell them right up front, every single Monday, we're going to have this call. It's not going to be a surprise. Not going to be like I'm calling you to get you to reduce your price and, oh, it's a scary conversation. It's just our normal check-in, but it's going to allow us to have tons of options to get the job done.
I love that you brought this up, Matthew, because we literally just recorded another podcast on these customer service calls this morning. We did it this morning because
I love you guys. It's like you're anticipating my thoughts. It's fabulous.
That was so perfect the way you went into it with all the detail too, because not only is that the best way to manage a listing, it's also the best way to grow your business too, because that's giving exceptional customer service. It's giving you the opportunity to ask personal questions and connect with your client outside of the urgency of can we show the property this Saturday, or have you seen this new listing that's come on? That weekly communication cadence is so important. And you're right, a lot of agents haven't seen it. And I think that's also why we get the industry, quote unquote, gets frustrated when inventory changes, because the majority of the agents haven't seen that level of things before, right? Whereas the average agent makes it less than 5 years in the industry, so they haven't seen this. So when the inventory goes, there must be a problem. It's like, well, hold on, this is not a problem. We just need to communicate with our sellers. And so that communication skill, that weekly customer service call, is a forgotten skill, but also just the skill of raw communication within the industry to also help share these listings and find the people who would be interested in seeing these things to show them, because a lot of agents think if I make a fancy Instagram video, I'm going to get people in to see this property, and that's not going to do it. That's not the hook that you're looking for. Yes, you might get likes and clicks and some interest. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but it's not going to be the answer for your seller who's going, what are we doing this week? Right?
I love what you just said, and let me add just a tiny little bit to it, because I 100% agree. But number one, the one thing I would add to that, which you really highlighted how this drives the relationship, not the transaction. So of course I expected you to key onto that. That's totally in your hearts all the time. But think about it like this: the good news is, we know how to do this. This is what I love about the market we're in right now. There is not a single thing happening in this market right now that we as an industry, that your manager, that a colleague, that coaches don't know how to deal with. Like, this is not a pandemic that's arisen out of thin air that nobody knows how to deal with. Martians haven't landed, and it's not a natural disaster like a hurricane. So bottom line is, everything that's going on in the market, you two have something in your library or in your heads that can help all of your listeners absolutely positively deal with this. So I'm excited about that. But you also did bring up something I guess I want to put a little bit out there, which is, if I might evangelize for a second, this is also why we need to keep inventory transparent. This is why all inventory has to be visible on the marketplace so that sellers and buyers can be fully informed. You know, this industry is dangerously playing with these weird ideas of hiding some inventory for certain amounts of time. And look, I don't need to get into the technicals of it. The bottom line is that transparency is the most critical factor of any market. Anytime somebody thinks they don't have all the information, they will hesitate. They will question your advice. They will feel like they are being disserved or at least poorly informed. So as an industry, I want us to be really careful here. We know how to work this market. We know how to be successful no matter what it throws at us next. But we've got to be careful also not to be our own worst enemy in this case and accidentally make changes that sound good for certain reasons, but may fundamentally undermine our ability for everybody to have a successful outcome. So I just wanted to add that in there because I'm sure your listeners have been paying attention to these possible trends.
I think everybody's been paying attention to it. And I going back to your managing of the listings, and because I think that, so I got licensed back in 2003 is when I got licensed. I got to go through a lot of this market that a lot of people have never seen before. I've made a couple comments where there's some similarities back out there right now to 2008, things that a lot of people have never seen since then. And, I keep telling people, like, when you first have a conversation with somebody, pull all the numbers around everything that they're potentially going to want to accomplish. And then when they go, okay, we're ready to list, we want to get this thing on the market, pull all the numbers again. And then the moment that thing is going live on the market, pull all the numbers again and sit down with them and go, since we first spoke, this is the changes that this is the changes in inventory. This is the changes in everything going on here. Sales that were happening back then, that this is what they look like now. Because then you can set the stage with them so they understand what they're getting themselves into and that it's not stagnant. It is adjusting. It's moving. It's always changing. And I think setting that up, because I remember doing 6 month, I would do 6 month listings. I remember there was an agent that came into the office. They're like, I just got a new listing. And we're like, great. They're like, it's only for a month. We're like, you took a listing for a month? Like, hold on a second. Like,
right.
You might as well not have done it.
Many listing agreements where, the 6 was filled in for the default term when I started. Now, I've been around since 91. And so talk about how times may have changed. But even if we live at a time when all of our technology and sales ability and marketing makes it possible to sell homes faster than 6 months, 5 months, 4 months, whatever it is, the bottom line is that we know exactly how to do it. We can adjust as we go. Everything that we've been talking about here is just a matter of perhaps some new skills. And the interesting thing about our business is we love new skills. We adjust and adapt to things all the time. So while you and we kind of chuckle a little bit like, oh, I remember when we used to learn this, up front. For some people, this is the beginning of their career or they're midway through their career. The conditions didn't require it before. So it's great that we have the answers. Again, I'm grateful that we know what to do at the very least in these circumstances, and we're not dealing with something like in 2008 where we didn't really know what to do when mortgage bonds deep sixed a third of the market overnight, and we really did not know how to respond.
Well, so this is where what I keep saying is that we are in a way, yes, we might have some similarities to it, but we have people that have a lot of equity in their homes right now. Back then, we had people that needed to get out, but they were so far underwater, they were so far upside down that, they had bought at the peak of the market. And here we lost 60% of our value in 1 year in this town. And, where do you go from there? Where currently right now, at least if prices are dropping a little bit, things are changing a little bit in different markets, at least there's answers. If people need to go, they can still go. We really have a good environment right now, which you early on were saying how we emotionally understand what's going on around us. And I think a lot of realtors listen to the news out there and they hear maybe doom and gloom and what's kind of going on. And I look at it as there's a lot of people that need help coming up here. They've got the pieces to be able to get from point A to point B. You just got to help them, which means for you, it's probably one of the best marketplaces you could ever ask for, because a lot of people are going to need your help.
Every fundamental in the current marketplace is just fine. Over $1 trillion in equity for homes that have mortgages, and more than 40% of homes in America don't even have mortgages. Not a problem. 70% of sellers today are baby boomers. So the silver tsunami that we predicted 10 years ago, it just took a little longer to actually happen, but it's happening now.
Those guys, like, they're still thriving. What's going on?
They're still thriving. They are driving the economy. They're leading great companies. So, okay, now they're maybe making a little bit of a change, but also their kids are finally moving out of the house, I'm sure. But like, bottom line is, like, we look at the people who are selling. They have plenty of equity to sell slowly, so they're not underwater, equity to use some of it to buy down their own mortgage rate or buy down their buyer's mortgage rate to help them with that as well, as opposed to spending that money on, capital gains or something like that. So there's a lot of fundamentals that are really good here. We'll sell 4 million, maybe a little more, 4 million plus homes this year. Again, not a big deal, 12,000 a day. That's about 600 an hour, 9 a minute, 8 a minute, something like that. You can't be upset if 8 homes a minute are being sold in this marketplace. You just can't be upset about that. But bottom line is, every fundamental is good. It is about us coming to the market every day and saying, what opportunities are there? How am I of value? And just to add to this, how am I intentionally driving my business? Remember, surfers have to ride the waves that they are presented. Swimmers can make headway, whether it's choppy water or calm water, big waves or no waves, because they're powered by themselves. They intentionally identify their goal, where they want to go, and then they apply their skills, knowledge, wisdom, experience, and technology, their muscle, to getting it done. Again, I am so bullish on the market right now that I just can't be distracted by the negatives. Most people are hedging against how they might fail. But I wake up every day knowing there's no way I can fail. Those are two different mindsets entirely. And we've got to do that for ourselves and our colleagues in our offices, but we also have to do that for our customers and clients. Stop trying to figure out how to not win. Instead, figure out how you'll never fail. When you do that, the limit is there's no limit to this. And I tell agents all the time, listen, if we're going to sell 4 million homes this year, how many do you want? 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000? All of those numbers are well within 4 million. So unless you tell me you need to sell 5 million homes yourself, the number you want this year is within the number that the market will gladly make possible for you. Again, very bullish, very bullish.
Any individual agent's market share, even in their own market, because they'll say, oh, there's so much competition. Matthew, there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of agents who are competing for that. It's like the market share is so small for the individual agent that if you're riding macro waves, then you're not really doing anything, which brings us into the kind of the technical side of the things that agents can do, right? Because I think as technology has evolved, as the distribution methods come into question and all of these things, it's like agents are now piling on more and more things for themselves to do, to figure out. And so they're seeking, what's the next tool? What's the thing? What's the AI that's going to make me more efficient, or is going to get my listing shown to more people? And I feel like a lot of agents just opt themselves out because they're just overwhelmed by all of the stuff that they could do. Because, okay, let's say we all agree that the market is great and it always will be great. That's the way I look at it too. But now, how do I find the right thing to do? How do I be intentional about the correct thing to build my business so I don't get trapped in a tool that I spend 2 years on that turns out to really not do anything, that I'm not chasing leads, that all of a sudden when Google changes their algorithm like it did in the early 2000s, businesses go upside down. So Let's dive into some of this stuff, because I think agents are overwhelmed more than ever. I think our world is overwhelmed more than ever. We're getting ads from every little thing that we could possibly consume. There's Instagram and Facebook are cluttered with even more suggested posts, this ad, that ad. It's hard to cut through the noise sometimes. And so what are you seeing now in terms of just standard practices for agents? Like, is it just getting into the database and connecting with the people we know if we need to meet new people? You know, is it getting out there and joining groups again? How do we cut through that to find what are the true elements, the core things that we need to be doing to grow a business? And then what are the things that maybe we should invest time into learning?
This is a hard question. It's the right question to be asking. I happened to just read an article over the weekend that said that if the amount of information you and I process in a day were presented to someone who lived in the 1500s, they would probably have just a breakdown, because the amount of information you and I process in a day, just sheer information, let alone its meaning and its impact. So now take agents who are working really hard, navigating some changing conditions, and ask themselves, I wonder where I should concentrate my time. All right, let's stipulate a few things. A, you're working intentionally because you have a written business plan, you know exactly how many deals, and you know you want to be a little more listing-centric than buyer-centric right now, because listings obviously manage your cash flow. They'll bring all the buyers you want anyways, and you can have paid time off, which is important. We have to have, recharge our batteries. So if I have a listing, I'll have a colleague who will watch it for me when I go on vacation for a week or two, whereas if I have 7 buyers who haven't bought anything in 9 months, none of my colleagues are going to want to drive them around while I'm off vacationing. So we set up the business conditions. There's the platform. Now, which systems and tools make sense? Well, let's just work backwards. First of all, when it comes to artificial intelligence, this is a great opportunity to use the algorithm to fight the algorithm. This is one of my favorite little tricks these days. You already hinted at the fact that so many of us accepted the proposition that if we built our marketing around social media and search engine optimization and all of these things, that the quid pro quo would be we help build Facebook. Facebook will bring us traffic and likes and all of that. Except that somewhere along the way, Facebook went, it's kind of like that old line by Darth Vader, pray I do not alter the deal further. You know what I mean? Facebook kind of went, we were only kidding. We're not going to show your stuff to anybody unless you pony up a lot of money. Now, I'm not just picking on Facebook, but we've got to use the algorithm to fight the algorithm. How do we do that? Artificial intelligence. Certain artificial intelligence tools can help us take control over our messaging and our marketing. But I want to just bring up 2 elements here. Number 1, use artificial intelligence to automate tasks, not relationships. So, having said that, you really use artificial intelligence inside the business, not on the front end of the business, okay? So I want everyone to think about, how do I automate tasks that are preventing me from having face time with my peeps, with my sphere of influence? Well, I can't do that if my accounting takes hours to do. I can't do that if generating 5 or 6 social media posts takes too long. I can't do that if I'm spending an hour editing a video. These are all beautiful opportunities to fight use the algorithm to fight the algorithm. Use artificial intelligence to chop up a video, edit some text, turn some content into better content or a flyer, repurpose things, all of these areas like a ChatGPT, or even like some of these specialty tools like Canva and Descript. Canva turns text into beautiful graphics, and Descript will take a video or an audio and chop it into mini clips that can easily be, instantly socialized. All of these are AIs, but they help me behind the curtain. They help me inside to work on my efficiencies and my productivity. Now, I'm going to get some time back. What do I do at that time? That's how I'll grow my business. That's how I'm able now to spend more time prospecting, more time hanging out my sphere of influence, more time taking content the AI helped me generate quicker and distributing it to FSBOs, distributing it to my sphere of influence for referrals, distributing it to the press for PR or something like that. So you see where I'm going here, right? I would look at AI tools. All the AI tools are the ones that work behind the scenes. Don't be trying to get AI to interact with your leads online. Don't be trying to get it to answer your phone. Don't be trying to get it to prospect for you. If you don't want to do any of those things, then I lovingly say to you, perhaps this is not the career for you. But if you want to do those things, then tell AI, could you please get all this other junk out of my way so that I can get on with being an awesome value to people that I care of. Now, I'll pause there because that's the big picture that I think would matter, but we could talk some specifics too.
Well, I'm going back to being a swimmer. Like what you just said is like, take care of all that crap so you can get in the pool and swim. Like literally, like all that noise, all that clutter, all that stuff, because what you need to be is not sitting out there waiting for the next wave to come across, which I think is what a lot of people get in the trap of doing. And yes, I am watching AI produce some amazing things, but just for fun. Like I love everybody got into descriptions when the whole thing first came out. How can I have it write descriptions for me? And I started to think about it, and I'm like, guys, who actually reads the descriptions anyway? Like here we're so focused on this damn thing of writing descriptions. I haven't read a property description, and I can't tell you how long. Do the pictures look cool? Is the price right? Where's the address? Let's go take a look at it. And so it's like we can get caught in these cycles of all this stuff and this minutia that's really not taking us anywhere. So I love where you're going of have it take care of the tasks on the backside. You then take your stuff and be able to get face to face with your people because, man, everybody has an excuse about why they can't pick up the phone and make a phone call because something they got to do.
Well, think about it. It's actually named artificial intelligence. So we have to ask ourselves, where does artificial make a difference? Well, software is artificial and AI is just software. That's all it really is. It's a fancy kind of software. It's expensive software, in fact, but it's fancy. And where do we use software? Like nobody actually goes around waving their Excel spreadsheet with them. Nobody goes around saying, look, I have PowerPoint. So the fact that you would go around and say like, look, I have AI is nonsensical. No one talks about their software. AI is just software. They use it to efficiently run the business. What they talk about is of what's valuable to their prospects and customers and clients. Now, let's just go one step further. Because we actually have research now. I was just reading, trust me, it was a long read and a little bit boring, but I was actually reading a couple of articles from the Journal of Hospitality and Forbes this weekend. But long story short, the gist of it is that even adding AI to your product description could be a mistake because it actually hurts confidence. It makes customers anxious and nervous and worried that you're not there. This AI is there. Will I be able to get hold of you? Is AI making the decisions for you? Are you making pricing choices and negotiation decisions? Or is the AI making pricing choices? You see what happens here? And there's actual now studies that show that saying you have an AI-powered this or that lowers consumer confidence and their likelihood to make a purchase decision, meaning they're going to purchase you by listing your house or enlisting you as their buyer's agent. So again, without going too far afield, AI is behind the scenes. Let AI make you better, but you don't need to introduce it to the conversation in the same way that your doctor doesn't say, I'd like to introduce you to the x-ray machine before we talk about your results. Nobody cares to talk to the x-ray machine. They want the doctor to interpret the results.
So we're speaking the same language around this because when I first started to watch this all come out, I kept saying, we can see videos online all day long that my son was really good up front about going, that's not real, that's AI. And it took me a second to learn the little cues and be like, oh yeah, there's little things that are wrong about that. And that old saying of I'll believe it when I can see it, all of a sudden doesn't ring true anymore. That's a saying that we've all lived with our entire lives. Our parents lived with it, grandparents lived with it. And now all of a sudden, it's not if I can see it, I can believe it. What it really comes down to is if I can be in the room with it in real time, I will believe it. And I think that it does bring up that question to everybody who all of a sudden has to deal with AI of like, oh no, is this what this experience is going to be? where the minute they get to have that real person, it amplifies that real relationship even more. So those of you that take the opportunity to say, look, use it for the right tools, make your relationships really be real in real time, it's what people are going to start to look for even more. So I love how you put that.
I think what's interesting about that too, that study, which is fascinating, is if I'm hiring a real estate agent and they're going to talk to me about their AI this and their AI that, in just kind of like a, hey, cool, we have AI way, I'm like, well, that sounds like something that I could do then. Like, I could just go straight to the AI. Why do I need you? And I think what's important to remember is, like, when you're out there marketing your services, people are buying the results they want to see. And when they refer you, they were referring the process that you provide to them. And if it's done by AI, you're basically saying somebody else could do this. A software can do this. And that's where I think a lot of businesses lose. Now, if you are using AI in the back end to support, to say, hey, I'm able to do more because we've built incredible systems into our business. Now I'm like, oh, wow, these guys are architects. They've created stuff. And I think one of the things that have come out with more people using AI is it's highlighting the need for people to have good processes, because whatever you give AI, it's going to give you an answer. Like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, they are fantastic auto-completion tools. You give it something, it's going to complete that thought for you. You can ask it a question, it's going to answer it. Will it be the right one? I don't know. Probably most of the time it will be correct in some way. But if you don't give it a system, a structure to help you with, it's just giving you a bunch of garbage out. And that's one of the advantages too, is if agents can get themselves organized. And Matthew, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, because I think a lot of leaders are falling short in helping agents do this. They're saying, hey, go prospect, go call, go, set a goal and, talk to your people, but they're not helping agents build out systems for themselves, and a system is just a step-by-step process on how to do something so that they can automate more for themselves on the back end. So how do we solve that from the leadership standpoint?
Well, from a leadership standpoint, I think this is a question of helping our people understand what it means to be of value. So let's step out of real estate for just a moment. Think about other industries that used massive technological changes to dramatically impact the quality of the product, the price of a product, the availability of a product. So I'll use the automobile industry. Leaders in the automobile industry said, we're going to use robotics to dramatically improve the construction quality, the reliability, the comfort and feel, the safety of technology, but you will never, ever hear a leader instructing its sales force in the auto industry to talk about the robots that built that car. So let me just say that again to make sure I get, you know what I mean? You will never hear a leader in the automotive industry instructing its sales force to talk about the robots that built the car for the customer. Instead, they talk about the value. This car is twice as safe, faster, will last twice as long, is more expensive or less expensive, depending on what the value is to the customer, more unique, more customizable, more satisfying, more anything, but they don't talk about the construction process. Now bring that into real estate and let's just repeat the process. Leaders today must be helping their people understand how to use artificial intelligence and other tools to improve the quality, viability, pricing, accessibility, reliability of the product, which in this case is them. They're the product. That's what people buy in real estate. They buy the agent to help them buy, sell, refer, rent, lease, whatever it is. So when you think about that, we're improving us. And here's what I just remind agents to simplify the whole thing. Look on your desk. You probably have one of these. This is known as a thank you card. Notice it says thank you. It doesn't say thank your lockbox. It doesn't say thank your document management platform. It doesn't say thank your caption generating AI clipping tool. It doesn't say thank your spell checker or anything. You see where I'm going here, right? We've got to not get confused in this business. New tools are amazing. And what AI can do for us now in speeding up how quickly we can learn and see insights about the market, in repurposing content, in generating content, all of that is helpful. But we should be asking ourselves now, how does this improve the reliability, the quality, the pricing, the delivery of service, the satisfaction, and the thankability, aka referrals of me, the product? If you use AI for that, then honestly, you don't even mention AI anywhere except to vendors from whom you buy AI-powered tools, because when you're talking to customers and clients, you're only talking about their goals and gains, not about how you plan to get it done.
Matthew, I liked how you talked about these are tools behind the scenes that we have that nobody should ever know that you're using AI. Like, I think it's some of that thing that people want to lean into that goes like, but like, I am skilled in this and I know how to use these tools. And the best thing you can do is have nobody know. Now, I was thinking, because you brought up automobiles, because there's another side of this, which is like Porsche plays the whole game of, you will have a real person's hands on every inch of this car as it goes through. We won't have a robot touch this car. We will do every stitch. Like, all of a sudden, Rolls-Royce is the same way. They play into that game of like, no, we're not like everybody else out here that's using all the tools, and they use that to their advantage, even though the other cool car companies would never say it.
Well, let me just say one slightly controversial thing. Real estate is the bizarrest priced industry I've ever worked with. There is no other industry that spends billions of dollars making itself better, investing in systems, tools, products, services, and training, and then says, but I can't charge any more to the customer. It is the most mind-blowingly ridiculous pricing strategy ever. Now, I'll say it on your show first, clearly. In my opinion, organizations that properly leverage AI should be able to drive up all of the valuable components to clients and drive up their profits as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Porsche is not hand tooling its cars so that it can make them cheaper than an Isuzu, all right? Or, and I'm just going to pick on Isuzu for a second here, right? They're not trying to do that. They're trying to drive up quality, experience, referability, loyalty, desirability, and their profit. And if agents really want to profit from AI, it's not about volume. This is not a scaling game here. This is a quality assurance and efficiency game here. And so this is where, when I think about what tools should I be using, I should be using any tools that make me look better, any tools that make me sound better, any tools that make me perform better. But the tool isn't doing the performance for me. I don't want a customer to talk to my chatbot. I want them to talk to me. I don't want a customer to ask about my AI at a listing presentation, because if you want to get paid like a bot, bring a bot to work, right? If you want to get paid like a bot, tell them they could hire the bot. But if you want to get paid like a high quality, experienced professional, then you simply assure them, just like your doctor assures you, that it is a state-of-the-art surgical theater that they will be working in, but they don't show it to you in advance. They don't show it to you when you're being rolled in, and you don't wake up in it either. You wake up in the comfort of a recovery room. Well, use the same metaphor. We don't have to show people how the sausage is made. We need to serve them the most delicious possible meal we can at a price and quality level that they desire.
I love that you brought up pricing, because it's so, the race to the bottom is so fast. And I think this is another interesting thing on gatekeeping, which is like the discount broker, the pay me a flat rate to list it on your MLS. Quite honestly, I don't even know why that's happening through licensed real estate agents, when a homeowner now, with the tools that exist, could literally do that on their own. They just can't do it because the law says, well, you're not allowed to have access to the MLS as a homeowner. You have to go through a realtor. That's a whole nother discussion. But what I think is fascinating is, like, why would you want to race to that price point when you have the ability to serve people at a high level and increase this niche, or develop this niche where you get to serve people in an incredible way? And maybe it's not even based on your service. It could be based on the type of homeowner or buyer that you serve as well. People are willing to pay for customized niche service, particularly when it comes to their home. And why most real estate agents aren't leaning into it, I am it blows my mind because the smallest change, Matthew, too, like, right? Agents are like so quick to drop 1% off of their commission, but what if you just increased it by 0.1? 0.1% because you added this extra value. Imagine what that's going to do to your bottom line. It's amazing.
Take it one step further. If you don't believe us, right? I'm going to just talk directly to your audience for a moment. If you don't believe Garrett and Matt are right on this, which they are, they're very right on this. Okay. And if you're still doubting yourself, that's fine. You can doubt yourself too, but don't take my word for it. Take the customer's word for it. Last year, the number of people, the percentage of people who attempted to sell their home on their own hit the lowest level in 41 years of data gathering. So the NAR has been tracking this for over 4 decades. And last year, less than 6% of people tried to for sale by owner their own home. Now, here's what this tells me. In an era where they can make flyers, they can create internet websites, they can do their own TikToks, they could find their documents online and fill out disclosure documents. Everything operationally that we do, they could do with the help of AI, a checklist, a book, or something like that, right? Except that they chose not to. So if there's any question in your mind that the consumer desperately and desirously wants to work with you, just listen to them. They have voted with their own wallets, and only 6% attempted to do it on their own, and only half of those got it done. In fact, in some markets, I have seen data suggesting that 9 out of 10 FSBOs ultimately listed with a realtor anyways, even after trying it on their own. So don't believe me. Don't believe Matt and Garrett. Don't even worry about any other analysis than the customer themselves. Follow the customer. They will tell you what they want. They're not chasing price in this case. They are chasing so many other values, and you won't know unless you're the one asking the question, not your bot, not your site, not your squeeze form, not your click here. You have to put your arm around them and say, tell me what you want most of all so that I can find a way to make it happen. And let's move you from being cautious to taking that calculated risk. And let's get that dream to come true.
Matthew, I'm going to add in one piece here about your for-sale owner data that you have, is because if you go even further with it, the average, for the most part, for-sale owner that happened sold to a friend, neighbor, or relative. It wasn't some crazy marketing thing that for-sale owner person found that random buyer out there that all of a sudden was excited to buy the house. It was probably already set up beforehand where they were talking with the neighbor and go, oh, you'll buy my house? Sweet. And it shows up as a for-sale owner. They have a neighbor, they have a friend that wants to buy their place. Great. Let's just go down and get the documents done. It shows up like a for-sale owner. Very rarely. I mean, when was the last time you drove by a house and saw a for-sale owner sign in the front yard? Like, it just doesn't happen that way anymore. So I love that data, and I love that you said the consumer has already spoken with their pocketbooks. They know what they want. We just need to bring our value. People need to be able to perceive the value of what we bring to the table. So.
Well, and the realtors got to believe in their own value too, right? I mean, and that's where it comes into is they're not believing in themselves. This circles all the way back to the mindset you talked about, Matthew, and this is where leaders can help, is helping them believe. I mean, gosh, Garrett, we've talked about some leaders who an agent will go to their manager and be like, I'm struggling this year. And the manager's like, yeah, me too. And you're like, okay, that's not a vote of confidence. Or the manager comes out in a meeting and says, oh, the market is crap. Things aren't going great. We're having trouble getting sales. Maybe we should, negotiate the commissions down further or just offer less or whatever it is. The mindset behind how people believe in their own value is so crucial, and another missing component in the leadership that we see, Matthew.
So, Matthew, can I ask one more question that might open up a can of worms, and then we should probably have everybody be able to go back to their full days? I'm starting to see, as we're watching some people that, let's say, bought a home 2-3 years ago that are now saying, okay, hey, we need to sell again, putting their home on the market, and they're quickly starting to realize, I don't have the equity. I don't have maybe the cushion in here to maybe make this thing to come together. I'm watching a trend that happened back in 2008, where all of a sudden the agents would go, you know what? I'll throw in some of my commission to make this work. And my feeling has always been is that don't make their problem now your problem. You still need to show up as the professional, bring your value, bring everything to the table. They need to figure out the situation that they created. I'd be really curious to hear your thoughts on this, because I think we are going to start to see this show up for some agents in their business a little bit more and more here for a little bit. And the last thing I want to see is people giving up their commissions to try to see if they can make a deal come together. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm going to start from a philosophical perspective, because that's what I do. And, I believe that it is critical that we take care of ourselves so that we are capable of taking care of our clients. And there's nothing that will be served by slowly going bankrupt. There's nothing that will be served by not having the money to invest in training, systems, tools, quality control, marketing, whatever it is, because we're giving it away to make deals happen. Now, we simply want to be cautious that when we sympathize with our clients' situations, we don't take the monkey on our own back. Let me give you an example. Again, I'll go outside of real estate. Let's say that your doctor has been telling you for a very, very long time to address a health challenge. Maybe you need to lose a few pounds or eat less sugar or get more sleep, whatever it is. But let's say that you don't listen to them, or you listen to someone else. You asked TikTok how to buy a home or how to get healthy. You asked artificial intelligence whether to have an automatic escalation clause in your offer or how to eat pizza and get away with it. You see the parallels here, right? So one day you have a problem, a serious problem, and it's an unfortunate problem. Your doctor will sympathize with you, but if they have to perform a procedure to help you move on to the next chapter and hopefully get healthy, their price isn't actually going to go down, their price is going to go up. And so I understand that some customers and clients may be in difficult situations. Here's what I remind myself. If they weren't in a difficult situation, they probably wouldn't be calling you. So they need you at this time, and they need you at your best. And if you are making compromises, whether they're financial compromises or ethical compromises or marketing compromises or operational compromises, you're not serving them, you're not serving yourself, and I promise you that that echo will go out into the universe. And so suddenly what you do for one customer becomes the norm, and you are undermining your own success. It is okay to be able to say to the customer, I'm sorry you're in this circumstance. We will do everything we can to turn this into the best possible outcome. But one thing we can't do is throw ourselves into the fire as well. And it's just life. And if you can't do that, my recommendation, honestly, is not to do the deal at all. Not to do the deal at all. If you go to a seller and they say, well, no, we can't list at that percentage, or a buyer who says, I can't afford to compensate you at that level, I'll need you to do this. Well, you're just going to throw in your commission early at the beginning of the deal. My recommendation is simply to say, I wish you all the best. I can refer you to someone who might be able to operate at that level, but it won't be me. And you can't save everyone, but you won't help anyone if you operate at a level that harms you first. You've got to show up at your best, and it takes money for you to do that.
I hope everybody listened to what Matthew just said, because the route that I watch a lot of realtors take with it is the way I'm negotiating for my fee is the way that you can expect me to negotiate for you. And it always makes me go, blah, stop. Like, stop. Like, that's
so I
not
can
what we're
expect
talking
you to
about
just
here.
kind of just chop it down as soon as somebody says they can't pay list price. That's what I can expect from this situation.
Your analogy of a health situation where it's like, because you didn't take care of it earlier, now you're in this situation that's going to require more of my expertise, more of my time, more of my energy, means my price should probably go up. My fee should probably go up. So I love the way you approach that, Matthew. Thank you. That's awesome.
No, you're welcome. Think about it. There are lots of circumstances in which we're the right person at the right time. But we have to be able to be the right person at the right time, and it takes resources to do it. Not every circumstance will be one in which we can be of help at the level of reward that's necessary to do a good job. I promise you, if you cut the commission on one of these deals, when they refer you, they will refer you saying, oh yeah, and they cut their commission as well. So you're only going to get more deals like that. When you negotiate poorly, other agents will know that you're a poor negotiator. And all of the different repeat performances you'll have in the future will already be undermined, because the opposite is also true. As you were saying earlier, if you could simply move your commission, let's say a few basis points, well, it's not just on this deal, it's on every future deal you do as well, because you get used to asking for the compensation you need going forward at a higher level. It is one of those areas that is hard, but remember this: success starts by believing you're worth it. Everything else will make sure you deliver. But if you don't believe it, you can't earn it.
We should wrap it right there. Matthew, Matt, do you have any other questions? Because that was...
Well, I'll just say, if people want to really dive into the best AI, they need to go look at Always Inspiring, because that is the AI that's truly going to move you forward in this business. So go to alwaysinspiring.com. Matthew, what's next on the plate for you? What are you looking at? What projects are you working on that everybody should know about and follow along with?
Well, I'm super excited about the fall. I'm actually working with a number of realtor associations and MLSs that are excitedly innovating and reinventing themselves. I've got a prop tech client who's about to release an amazing update that really stays focused on the right kind of work that makes a difference, but brings to bear some of these tools behind the scene, which is really good. And then, to be honest with you, I'm doing a few retreats this fall, and I'm so blessed to be invited to co-host some of these retreats, because most of the time you expect people to go to conferences where they just want to talk about more things to do, but all of the retreats I'm doing are really focusing on not what we need to do, but who we need to be. And so I'm really starting to see the industry invest in its healthy vision of itself for the future, whether it's associations, MLSs, agents, leaders. They're saying, let's not worry about how to get this done. Let's worry about who we want to become to be able to get this done. So that's what I've been working on. I really work in this unique space in the business, and I'm so excited about the next 6 months to 2 years in this industry.
I love it. Matthew, there's people that want to reach out to you, get a hold of you. What are the best ways for them to reach out and do that?
Well, certainly go to the newsletter, alwaysinspiring.com. You also can go directly to my services page, which would be matthewferrara.com, or just my email. I'm easy to find. It's a little hard to spell sometimes. It's matthew@mflearn.com. That's the short version. But honestly, I believe the great Google and all the other search engines will be able to find me if you type me in. Or just hang out with me on Facebook. Go on Facebook and follow me, where I often just post a little inspirational piece each morning as well.
Yeah, definitely. Those are great pieces. Love reading them. Gosh, thank you, Matthew, for coming on and sharing. And I'm sure we'll have you back again, because there's more that we can talk about, particularly after you go through the retreats and everything. It'll be interesting to see what you're learning from the MLSs and all that good stuff. So really appreciate you coming on. Garrett, is there anything else?
Is this annual? Is this, are we making this? Well, we'll circle back around on that.
I don't need any excuse or encouragement to hang out with you guys. So don't you worry. You keep sending invitations, and they will definitely get on my calendar.
I love
it. Matthew, thank you. Matt, thank you. This has been absolutely great. And until next time, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Catch you on the next one.
Bye, everybody.